All right. Okay, folks, it is time. This is very exciting. It is time for us to introduce your Zenith project. Now, I know most of you, all of you are still working on your senior narrative. That's okay. That's cool. Just a reminder, though, that when we get back from the break, we want to be wrapping up those senior narrative projects. I actually got my first rough cut today. Somebody sent me a rough cut today, so that's exciting. So make sure that you continue working towards completion of those particular projects, because I don't want to rob you of your time to do your Zenith project. The Zenith project is a cool project, and we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about what is required, what you can do, what the possibilities are. There are so many possibilities. The possibilities are endless, really. I mean, not really endless, but there's a lot of things you could do. So without further ado, today we are discussing the Zenith Project, or what I like to call affectionately the Ultimate Freestyle Project, because that's what it's called. It's the Ultimate Freestyle Project. That's always what I thought it should have been called. I was outvoted, so it's the Zenith Project. But we all know what it's really called. It's the Ultimate Freestyle Project. So I always like to begin with a little bit of history, because it's important to know where we came from on our journey, is it not? Steven's losing his mind over there. He's like, no, not again. Yes, sorry, Steven. We're going to learn a little bit of Zenith history. There we go. So very, very quickly, there was a senior project in the early years of freestyle. It was called the Senior Project. It was not met with great success. It was in the early days of freestyle. The projects were basically do whatever the heck you want and then tell us what you did. And you can imagine with a bunch of seniors, second semester seniors, that didn't go over so well. There's a very famous story. You should ask Mr. Greco about it sometimes. He loves to talk about it. There's a very famous story about a girl who, quote, went to Costa Rica and planted seeds. And that was her senior project. And it was like, well, what evidence do you have of doing that? None. And that was her senior project. Did you really plant these seeds? Did you even go to Costa Rica? So anyway, the senior project was quickly abandoned because it was not seen as terribly effective. And when I came into freestyle, Mr. Greco and I started talking about, like, what wouldn't it be cool? So I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit, because this is Greco and I's idea. So we said, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we could come back like second semester with seniors and kind of say, all right, you got a semester left. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of film do you want to make? What kind of project do you want to do? And we thought that would be kind of cool. How could we fit that into our curriculum? So we started with this idea of the Innovator Project. And we did the Innovator Project for a year. And it was basically that idea. Like, after exhibition in February, you had all the class periods, including English and digital media, to work on this Innovator Project. It was cool. The class made some really cool stuff. They were also exceptionally lazy. We gave them way too much class time. And basically every day they sat outside in the sun and screwed around because we gave them too much time. We gave them English class time. We gave them design class time, because back then everyone was taking design instead of digital media. We gave them film time. Like, it was just too much. And it was too easy for them to just kind of take advantage of the huge amount of time that they had and still produce cool stuff, but kind of waste a lot of time. So we dialed it back the following year to Zenith version 1.0, in which you had your digital media class time and your elective class time, in your case, film, to work on your Zenith project while you were here at school. And that seemed to be the right balance. You still went to English, you still did Englishy things. And it seemed to be the right balance to kind of maintain the right amount of accountability and the right amount of work ethic, as well as the right amount of like time that you were going to manage on your own. And that seemed to work really well. We had some really cool Zenith projects in that first year. We revised it just a little bit. We tweaked it just a little bit for version 2.0, which is the version that you guys are doing and the version that we've done for the last couple of years. We really like the changes that we've made. We feel like we've dialed it in, and we're really happy with where this project is at right now. And it worked rather well last year in distance learning. And you may recall having watched a lot of those last year and commented on them or whatever, or voted on them. As you may recall, some of those projects were pretty cool, despite, being really abruptly thrown into distance learning. Last year's seniors did a good job with it. I anticipate that you guys will be able to do it just fine, given that you've been doing distance learning all year, and if anything, we're coming back to campus. So I think you have some advantages over what last year's class had. So what are those 2.0 revisions? What does the Zenith 2.0 actually look like? So here's kind of what it looks like. It's more production class focused. And what that means is that it's really more everyone's doing their Zenith project in their elective class. In your case, that's film. The animation students are doing their Zenith, project in animation. It used to be this was kind of a huge all of freestyle thing, and it still is to some degree, but it's really primarily led and done and completed within your elective class. Okay, that way your elective teacher, in your case me, has a lot of responsibility to make sure that you're on track and that you're meeting the right requirements that are unique to film, for example. Okay, you're going to pitch to your production teacher. You guys should be grateful for this. Originally, for a whole week we did these pitches where you had to come in and pitch your Zenith idea to the whole Freestyle staff. It was very intimidating. It was very frightening, and you'd often ask yourself, why is the animation or design teacher weighing in on my Zenith project? I don't understand. Like, why does their opinion make a difference on my project? And the other students were like, why is Mr. Taylor? He's so hard. He has such high standards. Why is Mr. Taylor here? Why is he telling me that I can't do this design project? Whatever, right? So you only need to pitch to me. You only need to pitch to me. You don't have to worry about what the other students are doing in their classes. Each elective class kind of has their own spin on the Zenith project to make it work for that particular elective class. And that made the most sense. Yes, it does. All right. And then finally, this is the coolest part, because we used to do Zenith projects. We used to present them to the entire school, all of Freestyle. And that was really cool. But our school's bigger now. We added animation. And so there are more students. And so if we tried to do that, it would take like 2 weeks instead of 1 week. And we just don't have 2 weeks to devote to all those Zenith projects. And, that's a lot of Zenith projects to sit through and listen to, and it can get a little long and monotonous. And the juniors got stuff to do too. So we thought, man, how can we make that work? And then we had this great idea. You present your projects to the elective. Since it's elective focused, the film seniors present their Zenith projects to the film juniors. So as you may recall, last year, you got to watch a lot of those in video form. We'll probably keep that format this year. But normally these are presentations that are actually done orally in the classroom in front of all the film students, whether they're juniors or seniors. And that's kind of cool. All right. So the Zenith is really meant to be the peak of all your skills. Okay. I don't want you to think that this has to be the biggest, baddest project that you've ever done. I'll be honest with you. It's not. Senior narrative is the biggest, baddest project that you've ever done. Okay. But the Zenith project is meant to be the peak of all your skills. That's why we call it the Zenith project. The Zenith means the peak. All right. It means the utmost highest form of, amazingness. It is your Zenith. So it is meant to be the peak of all of your skills. You learned a lot while working on senior narrative. You're still learning while you're working on senior narrative. The Zenith is coming after that because it's meant to be the peak of all of your skills. All of your skills are going to be at their highest point. The Zenith project is meant to give you freedom. Mr. Taylor loves freedom. He really loves freedom. It's like my favorite thing. All right. So you have the freedom to design your own project and pursue your own interests. I'm not going to tell you what to do. There are a few requirements for your Zenith project, a few, but for the most part, you can kind of do anything you want. It's kind of up to you, so long as you can convince me that it makes sense for your Zenith project. Okay, so it's your opportunity to really explore and to really pursue what you are interested in. In some ways, it's very similar to the explorations project that you did last year. It's just bigger and you got more time to do it. Okay, now I want to make sure I preface this very, very clearly. Okay, you may the Zenith project, it's not going to be the biggest project you've ever done. Okay, but it should be the most polished and the most refined because your skills are at their peak. Okay, so it's not going to be the biggest. You're not going to do another 10-page narrative. We've been working on that thing since like the beginning of the school year, if you stop and think about it. Right? We took some time off to get lessons and lectures and to drag our feet into production a little bit while we waited for, COVID to slow down. Right? But for the most part, we've been working on senior narrative for like almost all year. All right. That is the biggest, baddest project that you're working on. Okay. The Zenith project is not the biggest, baddest project. You're not going to do another 10-minute film, but it might look the best. It might be the most professional looking, or it might be the most professionally executed project that you've ever done. You might be able to do it faster than you ever did anything on your senior narrative or in any other previous project, because now you have more experience. Okay, so it should be the most polished and it should be the most refined. That doesn't mean it's the longest. That doesn't mean it's the biggest. That doesn't mean it's going to take you the most longest period of time. Okay, but I do expect you to showcase all of your skills. I do expect you to show your abilities and refine and your skills and to show off your professionalism, because you're at a point now that you're better today than you were yesterday and the day before and the day before that. Okay, all right, and in this sense, it is most definitely the Ultimate Freestyle Project, because I love that title. That's what we call it. It's Ultimate Freestyle Project. Film students always call it the Ultimate Freestyle Project because that's what it is. It's the Ultimate Freestyle Project. Okay, so coming back to our slides here. For your project in film, okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so that's a lot of nice words, Mr. Taylor. Tell me what's actually required. I am a student. I like grades and stuff. That's what you're saying to yourself. All right. What's required, Mr. Taylor? I want that syllabus. Give me that syllabus. I want it so bad. Give me the rubric. I want that rubric so bad. Some of you are just craving it. I can see it in your eyes. You want to know what's required. Okay. Okay. Well, there are a few minor things that are required. Okay. A few minor things that are required. These are the boundaries that you must stay in for your Zenith project. There are not many and they're rather large, but this is what they are. Okay. You need to do a pitch. Okay, so there is a written proposal, and every freestyle student, all freestyle students, not just film, are doing the same document, and I have the documents for you, and you will be able to take them and make them your own, okay? But you're gonna write a written pitch, a proposal for what you plan to do for your project. Pretty simple, okay? Doors wide open, you can still do whatever you want, okay? This is where the film element comes into play. You must include some element of pre-production, production, and post-production. You must do all three in your project, okay? They do not all need to be the same size or the same weight. So if, for example, you wanted to write a feature-length screenplay, 120 pages of screenplay goodness, because that's what you love and that's your passion and that's what you want to do, that's awesome. That's great. That's definitely all the pre-production that you'll ever need. But you still need to do some production and you still need to do some post-production. So maybe shoot a scene out of that 120-page screenplay. I don't expect you to shoot 120 pages, but maybe pick out a scene that's 3 pages long and shoot that one scene. And that way you're still going to showcase all of your skills. Because remember, the Zenith is about having all of your skills come together. And all of your skills include all of the elements of pre-production, production, and post-production. So they all need to be included and represented in your Zenith project in some way, but they don't have to be of equal size. Okay, so if you want to make post-production your thing because you love special effects, you loved the After Effects that we did the other day, and you want to make that your emphasis, that's totally cool. That's awesome. You will need some element of pre-production and production in there, in addition to spending all your time in After Effects doing post-production. Okay, and this is what you need to include in your written proposal for me so that I can review it and look at it and say, yep, this makes sense. This checks all the 3 boxes. They seem excited about it. I'm going to make sure they get a green light and they can get started. Okay. Okay. It should be the appropriate workload for April and May. Okay. You are getting almost the exact same amount of time that every other year of students get on the Zenith project. Okay. It's always 2 months long. You're getting a little bit shy of that. You're getting like a month and like a few weeks more if you count spring break. But you're really, if you count spring break, you're only 1 week less than every other year of students because we extended the project out into May just for you because we love you so very much. But that's also why I'm introducing it today, because if I waited any longer, it would really cut into your time. Okay. So make sure that it's the appropriate workload for April, May. Okay. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Okay. Don't do another senior narrative. You're still finishing the first one. Okay. All right. But don't take the easy road either. Don't do, oh, I'm going to do a little video essay and then you do it in a day. Okay. Like video essays are cool and you can do video essays, but make sure it's the appropriate amount of work for the next couple months. Okay. I don't know your schedule. Okay. So you need to decide what makes sense for you and your schedule and your workload. Okay. What I'm saying is don't get senioritis, not in my class. You can get senioritis in all your other classes, but not film. We like film. We like making stuff in film. Okay. So make sure it's the appropriate workload and I will call you out on it. If I think it's not enough work, I'm not shy. I will call you out on it and say, I think you need more than this. Or if it's too much work, I'll let you know that as well. I've done that as well with students that are taking on way more than they should. Justin, you doing some magic over there, buddy? Doing
There's
some
a
magic?
cat. There's a cat. Maybe
Doing
he'll
some,
jump. Maybe he'll jump
doing
and try
some
to get it.
you
Oh.
doing some magic wands?
This cat is like mesmerized by this thing.
He's a pretty magic fairy.
Oh, that's
Aw.
so sweet. Okay, all right. Let's go back to Zenith goodness here. Okay, there is a rubric. It's not my rubric. It's your rubric. It is your rubric. So there's a rubric outline, and it's your job to fill in that rubric because you're going to grade yourselves on this. It's ultimately, I agree or disagree with your findings, but ultimately you're going to grade yourself based on your own rubric. So what is going to be required for your own project? And technically that rubric is supposed to align itself with our 21st century skills. So you're supposed to pick out all those skills and kind of, you'll see it when I share the document with you. You're supposed to fill it in and kind of follow all those 21st century skills. So make sure that you do that rubric because it's really important, and everyone is doing that here at Freestyle. So that is critical. It is part of your grade. Make sure that you have it done. And in the past, that rubric was graded by all of your Freestyle teachers. This year, it's just going to be me. So you know how tough of a grader I am. You guys need to make sure that that document is really looking good because I am tough, as you guys know. You do also have a calendar. You do also have a calendar, and this is where I hold you accountable. This is not new for you, okay? Because you've been doing this through senior narrative. Normally, I would be even more on your case for your calendar. So I am going to turn it up a notch because you didn't get the full calendar experience with me and when you're making your dailies due for senior narrative. I've been really lax about that because of the circumstances. I'm not going to be so lax about it when it comes to your Zenith projects. I still want you to have that experience where, hey, you told me that dailies 3 was going to be due on this day. Where is it? I'm here. I'm calling it in. I want to see it. Right. So like that's kind of the producer that I become typically during these projects. So all students, not just film students, have to make a calendar for their work and create their own deadlines. And that was something that that we added because that's something that film students have done on their senior narrative for years now. And we thought that was really cool because it allowed them an opportunity to manage their project themselves a little bit. We thought that was an important skill, an important life skill to have and to develop as students. So you need to create a calendar for your own deadlines. The calendar is part of that document. You'll see like dates where you have to put in your own dates. As your producer, as someone who will meet with you on a weekly basis, you will have to, I will hold you accountable based on what it is that you put on there to be due every week. Okay, so you need something due every week. And I will ask you for evidence. You can't just say, yeah, I did it. I will say, show me, where is the evidence? And you will have to show me. And if you don't show me, bad things happen. Got to show me the evidence. Okay. So there are regular check-ins. As I mentioned, those will happen typically on Fridays, typically every week at the end of every week. They're the kind of thing where I usually just kind of do it through like Google Chat or like, you know, when you sign into like your Freestyle email, there's like the Google Chat window on the side. We can do a Zoom thing if you want to do a Zoom thing, but usually I just do like a Google Chat thing. And at least that's what I did last year. And that worked really, really well because you can reach me at any time because you can, and all you have to do, there's no set time. Like typically what I do with this is you just have to Google Chat me, you know, before that week is over. And then like when you catch me and like, hey, all right, let's check in. Yeah, let's do it right now. And then we'll check in and all that kind of stuff. There's no like formal class time for that to happen. If we were meeting in class, and we might be meeting in class at some point here in the future, depending on how many of you want to come in and work in class and stuff, then usually I just call you over to my desk and then we just have a talk and then you show me what you got and then you go back to work and then I call the next person, kind of a deal. So we'll figure out how to handle check-ins here when we come back from the break and when people are here and there and everywhere. We'll figure out the best way to go about doing that. And finally, what is required? You need to have a completed product of some kind. Okay, something I can take and upload to YouTube, basically. Like I need some sort of completed project. Okay, even if you wrote like a 120-page screenplay, you're still going to shoot something because you need to have that production and post-production element. So that's something that I can upload to YouTube, right? Okay, so but you're also going to have that completed PDF of your writing, right? So you need to have some completed project. You cannot, for example, I'm going to watch a bunch of film and talk about my film analysis. Okay, well, talking about it isn't a product that I can do anything with. You can make a video about it. You can write a bunch of essays about it. You got to have a product. You got to have something completed, something finished that you can use to showcase your work. In this sense, it's very much kind of like your explorations that you did last year. Remember, you studied something and you became an expert at it, and then you taught us something and made something to show mastery of that skill. Remember when we did that last year? In that sense, it's very much like that. So you're gonna have some kind of completed product that you can show off to say, like, here it is. This is my Zenith project. Finally, after all of that is said and done, there is a presentation. And typically this is done in class in front of all of the students, all the elected students. So this would be all the film seniors and all the film juniors, and you would give this presentation. I think this year we're going to do what we did last year, which is we're going to create a video. I think that's kind of cool. We didn't create a whole lot of videos this year, given the circumstances. So it might be nice to continue practicing those skills. So I think what we will do is we will have all your Zenith presentations in the form of a video, and we'll put them in the Google Drive where we can show them to all of the students, and everyone can vote on them and comment on them and stuff like that. Similar to what we did last year. Do you guys remember the Zenith project last year? Do you guys remember seeing those when we shared them and told you guys to watch them and vote them and stuff? Some people did very elaborate video presentations. Some people just filmed themselves talking in front of their screen, going through Google Slides, talking about what they learned. There's no right or wrong way. That presentation is not even graded. Okay, that's not a graded presentation. It's just an opportunity for you to show off your work. Okay, it is going to be uploaded. People are going to watch it. I do save it and archive it. Okay, so you do want to do a good job on it just for your own pride, but it's not a graded thing. Okay, okay, all right. So what does class time look like during this time? What is class time going to look like? Okay, well, it's basically all Zenith production time. It's basically you are managing your own time. It's basically you are working on what you need to work on. There will be regular check-ins, and you can use class time to do those check-ins. I would encourage you to do so that I don't have to meet with you at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday, right? I would much prefer to do it during class. Okay, so there are regular weekly check-ins. We are going to have our director presentations, which I have not yet talked about, but we'll be talking about here shortly. This is a different separate assignment, and so our class time will be used for that as well. But that's basically it. You're basically working on your own stuff, managing your own time, taking advantage of that of your class time in that way. We don't have much else to teach you. In fact, I taught you everything I know. This is it, guys. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm tapped out. Like I've taught you literally everything I know. I don't have anything left that I'm hiding. Like, I've taught you all my lessons. I've taught you everything that there is to teach you. So the question now really becomes, what do you want to do with your last 2 months of film? This is it. Like, you're on your way out the door. You're graduating shortly. Your freestyle experience is coming to an end. You will forever be labeled the COVID class, the one that did it remotely. Okay? Generations of people will be curious about your class. They'll go back and look at the archives. They'll want to see, what did the COVID class do during this time? All right? What are you going to show them? Do something you're proud of. Do something that you're excited about. Do something that's polished and refined. Do something that you can hold up and show to other students and show to your kids someday and be like, look at this really cool project I made in school. This is legit. Make something that you can put on your resume. Make something that'll get you a job if that's what you want to do. Okay? This is an opportunity for you to really make something nice and polished and cool. And to end freestyle, as I said, to end freestyle and your high school career on a good note after a really rotten year. Okay, go out on your terms. Okay, all right, so here's some Zenith ideas for you. The door is open. You can do anything you want, really, so long as you can convince me that it makes sense for your project and it fulfills my meager, small requirements. But here's some ideas. These are some ideas that have been done in the past, and these are some ideas that I have that maybe haven't yet been accomplished. First of all, you can do a group project. Group projects are definitely on the table. You do not have to do this solo. You can do it solo. It seems like most students wind up doing this solo simply because they're pursuing a particular passion, and everyone has a different passion, and that's cool and that's awesome and that's fine. But you don't have to do this alone. If you want to work on a group project, you totally may. You absolutely may. You know, I love collaboration. Film industry is all about collaboration. If you want to work in a group, you may. Okay, so that's definitely on the table. I mentioned you could write a feature-length screenplay. That's one of my examples. That's been done a few times before. Okay, definitely something that you can do. If you liked the writing, if you liked the screenwriting, you loved Save the Cat, you might want to do some more research. You might want to do some more reading, and you might want to start creating some more, larger stories. Maybe Senior Narrative was cool, but it didn't allow you the opportunity to really create the world that you wanted to create or go into depth and really get that character to change. Maybe you want to expand it to something larger, or maybe you want to write something that's totally different now that you've had that experience. So if you want to write that feature-length screenplay, definitely something that you can do if that's something that you want to pursue. We've had students do collections of shorts in the past. One of the best ones we ever had a few years ago was a student who said, I want to do a collection of funny shorts. I want to study humor. I want to get really good at humor and comedy, and I want to study comedy and do a series of comedic shorts. And he ended up doing, I think, 3 or 4 shorts, and they were funny. They were good. He did a good job on them. They were some of the best. It was definitely like one of the best Zenith projects we had that year. And he did a really good job. He actually studied humor and comedy and like, how does comedy work? How can I make that work in a video? And he made like 3 or 4 different kinds of videos based on the different kinds of comedy that he studied. He studied what is funny, and he made these different videos, and it looked great. And it was easily his most professional looking videos that he'd ever made. And he was a talented student. But he made, these shorts, and they were short. They weren't long. It didn't take him long to make them, but they were the most professional looking things that he'd ever done. Okay. You want to do another documentary? You never really got a chance at having a real great documentary. We got screwed on documentary last year. You guys left right in the middle of your documentary. A few of you came out with halfway decent ones. A lot of you came out with kind of garbage ones. And I think if you had a garbage one. And that wasn't your fault. That was, we were very much uprooted right in the middle of that project where you had to abandon ship and do something completely different. And at that stage, we were really hiding in our homes for a while there, right? So it was kind of hard to do much of anything else. So if you want to go back, you want to like do a real documentary. Maybe you didn't have that opportunity last year, or you want to do it better. That's an option that you can do. Some of our best Zenith projects have been documentaries. Maybe you want to try a different kind of documentary. We had a very clear format when we did documentary last year with talking head interviews and things like that. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to do a more participatory documentary. You think back to those 6 modes of documentary film that we talked about in the past. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to do something reflexive. Maybe you want to do something participatory. Maybe you want to do something poetic and start getting, abstract, taking it back to experimental. Like you can do, this is all on the table because it's everything that we've done in the past is something that you can bring back and really refine and do better here on your Zenith project. Just like, experimental film, you can do that as well. I've had students who have gone full circle. We started with experimental film and they wanted to end with experimental film. And I had one student, it's one of my favorite stories. She was not my most talented student in any way, shape, or form. In fact, she really struggled in the beginning, especially with the technology. And she finished her Zenith project with an experimental film. She studied experimental film. She got really into David Lynch, and she made an experimental film, and it was awesome. And it looked and it felt experimental, and it was easily the best thing that she had ever done. And she did it by herself. She was super proud of that because in other times she'd worked with projects and kind of leaned on them for support with other students. And it was awesome. And it was a great story. And she was just riding high. It was a great capstone to her freestyle career, for her to go full circle like that. So if that's something that interests you, you like experimental film, you want to redo that really cruddy thing that we did way back when, and have that experience all over again, knowing what you know now, definitely an option. A music video. You can do a music video. Music videos used to be a project that we did at Freestyle Academy. We had film students teaming up with web audio students. They were called web audio students back then, which is what the digital media class is now, back when that was an elective. And we would put them into groups, and you had to write your own music. You had to write your own song, record it in the studio, and then make your own music video. We ended up getting rid of that because it was done senior year, and music videos, they're kind of the first thing you should do when you're getting into film, right? Because it's editing to a song is not that hard. You're really, remember how I talked about music and picking music, when you're making a music video, the music is the most important thing. And editing the video to the music is really kind of a simplistic thing. But if that's something that you want to try, if that's something that you want to do, that's definitely on the table. We haven't done that as a class. Even better if you can write your own music. So if you like writing your own music, or you know somebody who does, and you want to turn that into a music video, definitely an option, definitely something that you can do. I don't know that the studio will be available at all because we don't have much of a studio right now. So I don't know that any recording can be done here. That's a Mr. Flo question. But maybe there are options that he can help you out with, because we do have the equipment. It's just not necessarily set up in the studio. You want to do another narrative film? You haven't had enough of it yet, and you want to do another one? Go for it. Knock yourself out. Some of you are like, no. But if you want to do another narrative film, you want to try to put something together, definitely something that you can do. In all my years of Zenith projects and innovator projects, I don't think I've ever had a student do that. I think I've had one student who did it because their narrative film fell apart, and then they decided to do like another one for Zenith, basically. And I can't remember if that one turned out well or not. But most of my students, when they're done with narrative, are tuckered out and they're ready for something different, which is fine and totally cool. I wish there were a few more narratives in there because I like narrative films. But again, it's not about making the biggest, baddest project. It's just about having something that's the most refined. You can do a television series pitch. TV is really hot right now. TV and streaming, like it's bigger than the movies lately. And I think it's going to continue to move in that direction, which is cool and sad and awesome all in the same way. But if you want to do a series pitch for a television idea and create a pitch package and put that all together, where you shoot something to kind of show what that might look like, and then you give a real pitch to like a group of writers, that kind of a thing, that could be super cool. That could be awesome. You could do the same thing with like a web series. You can make like a web series pilot, that you can try to shop around, that kind of thing. You can focus on special effects. As I mentioned previously, you can do After Effects, really make that your focus. You can make a noir film. I am still waiting for a real noir film. I've had 3 students attempt a noir film, and not one of them have done it right. Okay, I have had 3 attempt it, and not one has done it correctly. I am still waiting for a real noir film. And someday I'm going to get that noir film. You can do a series of film tutorial videos. Eric Rustum's videos that we watched this year, that was his Zenith project last year. And it was super cool. And I used those. I'm going to show those to students for years, right? I showed you Kirsty's Zenith presentation that she did on pre-production. And that's something that I'm going to continue to show to students for years, right? So you can make film tutorial videos that'll help my future classes, or that we can link and send to other film students that can learn from you, based on the skills that you learn. That's definitely something that you can do, because it incorporates your research, your pre-production, your production and creating the video, and your post-production and editing it and putting it together in a cool way. So that's something that you can do. Okay. You can do some film analysis. I've had 1 or 2 students that have tried this in the past. They want to watch a bunch of films. They want to do some film history stuff. They want to analyze films. That's super cool. You can write a paper. You can put stuff together. If that's something that you're into, you can do that. You need to create a video of some kind. So I've had students in the past who have analyzed video in the form of like video essays, that kind of thing, like on specific types of movies or genres or things like that. Definitely something that you can do if that interests you. Okay. You can do the same thing with film history. You can make a specific industry job your study. So I had one girl a few years ago did a phenomenal job researching costume design. And she made her Zenith project costume design, where she found screenplays and designed costumes for those characters, and did a lot of actual real research, where she went to the library and checked out books and read those books and learned a lot, and then put that together into a Zenith, product where she created, actual costumes for characters of these particular films. And then she created a video to show her process through that whole thing. It was really good. It was a really good project. In fact, it was voted one of the best Zenith projects that year. Okay, so you can do that. You can make a specific industry job your focus. It can be costume design. It can be makeup. It can be, cinematography. It can be the gaffer. It can be the best boy. It can be any job in the film industry that you want to research, so long as there's enough there for you to do something with it. Okay, if you want to do animation, you can do animation. Okay, I have an animation degree. I do a lot of animation. You guys know this about me. Okay, like if you want to do animation, that is something that I can actually help you with in some capacity. And filmmakers are animators too, a lot of the time. And all animators are filmmakers. So if that's something that you want to try to focus on, you want to do some stop motion, or you want to do some hand-drawn animation or some flash animation or something like that. Heck, even if you want to do some Maya animation, I've done a little bit of it. I'm not very good at it. I would refer you to Mr. Cho, who's like way better at that stuff. And he is our animation teacher after all. So if that's something that you wanted to do, I would refer you to him. But that's definitely something that you could do. We've had some cool animation type of stuff in the past with, like 3D Studio Max and things like that. We've had some cool special effects that are done in that capacity. So if that's something that interests you, you can do that as well, etc. So there's a lot of things that you can do. One of my, favorite projects ever was the full rock opera. That was always something that I wanted for years. I said a student can do a rock opera. And I jokingly always said that, hoping that someday I would get a rock opera. And I had a student last year who decided to do the rock opera, and it was amazing. It was phenomenal. It was Richard Fukuda, of course. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And if you have not listened to it or seen it, go to YouTube today, check it out. I uploaded all of it. There's a video part in the beginning, and then the rest is all the different tracks of music. And it's a full-length rock opera, and it is amazing, and I love it. Okay, when is this project due? It is due. Dun, 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 dun. The presentations are on Wednesday, May 26th. Okay, so you got some time. But you probably don't want to wait too long. You don't want to burn up your time. Okay. So the reason why I'm giving this, introduction today is so that you can think all about it over the break, start putting those documents together, because those documents and your pitch will be due when we come back. Okay. So you got to think about all that stuff and put that stuff together and decide what you want to do so that you can get a green light and get started on this right away. Okay. Because that's what we've got class time to work on, because I'm not going to be teaching you anything. There's nothing for me to do during class. It's just for you to work on this stuff. Okay. Any questions about any of this? Sound good? Cool. Okay. So the documents are here in my slides. I will share these slides with you. There are a couple links in these slides, so you'll definitely want to look at these slides, but the documents are here. You can click on them. It will show the proposal. It will show the calendar portion. It will show the rubric that, as you know, is really, really important. Okay, all that stuff is in there, as well as some information that Flo puts on there for what you need to do for his class and your website, because you all have a Zenith website. Has he been talking about that at all by chance? Not yet. Okay, he will. I'm sure it'll come up, but you do have a Zenith website that you have to do for digital media. So a lot of that information is here in the Zenith documents. So make sure when I share these slides with you, you click through them and check out those documents, because I might not share them with you directly. I might just let the slides speak for themselves. Okay. Okay. Which brings us to one of our last assignments that we will be doing here in class, separate from the Zenith project. So there are two assignments left. Besides senior narrative and besides the Zenith project, there are two assignments left that you have for the last couple of months that we are here at Freestyle. And this is one of them. I've not told you about the other one. The other one I will tell you later. But this is one of them, and it is the director presentation. This is a cool project. It's not even a project. This is a cool assignment. Every year I do this. Every year students are like, I loved this. This was awesome. So we're doing it, and we're doing it again. And this is a really fun little project. And this is the way that it works. You are going to create a video presentation on a director of your choice. Normally, this is an oral presentation that we do in class. You stand up and you use my screen and you teach us about a specific director. And usually that's what this is. Last year, we did this in the form of a video presentation, and it was awesome. We really liked that. It was really cool. And so I'm going to have you guys do it again. And I don't know if I'm going to change it back. I might change it back because I think presenting orally to the class is important skill to practice, but these are also really cool. So I don't know. I haven't decided what I want to do for the future, but you guys are going to create a video presentation on a director of your choice. Okay. The rules are you're going to watch at least 2 films by your director. Okay. They must be the director of the film. Okay, they can't be like the actor. They can't be. I had one student very famously who gave this director presentation, and it turned out he wasn't even the director. He was like the choreographer or something, like the dance instructor, basically. Okay, don't do that. Okay, all right. So watch 2 films directed by your director. Okay, and then you are going to create a presentation, and in so doing, do all this research their background, their history. You're going to research their style, their themes, characters, how have they grown over the course of time, different techniques that they've utilized, different methods of film language that they've used to tell their stories. Okay, all right. Who were they influenced by, and who did they influence after them? Okay, all right. You're going to create a minimum 5-minute presentation, about 5 minutes. Okay, 5-minute presentation teaching us everything that you've learned about this particular director. That minimum 5-minute presentation is typically for our oral presentations. If your video presentation goes a little bit shorter than that, because we're not taking questions or anything like that, that's okay. That's not the end of the world, but it should be ballpark about 5 minutes long. Okay, all right, 5 minutes-ish long. Okay, and in that video presentation, you're going to include clips from at least 2 different films that support your research, that support your thesis, that support what it is that you're teaching us. Okay, so if you're going to talk about, let's see, what's a director? If we're going to talk about Wes Anderson, for example, and we're going to talk about Wes Anderson and the way he always centers his shots like right in the middle, right? He'll do that thing, or where he'll do that thing where he pans from left to right, and it's kind of a tracking shot from left to right, and everything feels like 2-dimensional, like a side-scrolling video game, right? Wes Anderson loves to do that.
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, Wes Anderson loves to do that stuff. So if you're going to talk about that in your presentation, make sure you show some examples of that to support your thesis, to convince us. Show, don't tell, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So the document, if you want to see the official assignment for this, the official assignment page, I actually have one of those. I don't often do that, but here I have. So if you want to click through on this one, you'll see the assignment document that says all the information that I basically just told you, a little bit more wordy, but it says everything that's on there about what is required and so on and so forth. But that's basically what it is. You're going to pick a director, you're going to watch at least 2 films by that director, and you're going to create a video presentation teaching us all about what you have learned about that director. And I believe I uploaded last year's onto YouTube. So if you want to see some examples, the ones last year were quite good. They were quite good. And if you want to see a really funny one, again, watch Richard Fukuda's, who did all of his in rap. Which sounds strange, but when you find out who his director is, it actually makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of different and funny in its whole thing. And if I didn't upload those, I will, because those are great and they need to be saved forever and always. Okay, so this brings us to dun, 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 the director draft, which is one of my favorite things of all year long, because this is where we're going to draft your directors, just like in sports, only it's movie makers, right? So we're going to do the director draft, because the director draft is going to be on April 20th when we come back from the break. Okay, so you need to think about who you want to draft to be your director, because, ladies and gentlemen, because you may not all have the same director. If someone else drafts the director before you, you got to pick somebody else. So you have this week off over spring break to think about who you want to do your director presentation on. Okay, who do you want to do your director presentation on? And today, in my fancy little bowl here that was given to me by a student last year, I have a bunch of numbers, and we're going to pick numbers for you. And we're going to find out your order in the draft. Are you going to get first pick? Or are you going to get last pick? Okay. This is very, very intense. However, the advantage of going first, of course, is getting your director of choice. The advantage of going last, however, is you get to be the first person to sign up for when your director presentation is due. Because everyone's working on different Zenith projects and different narrative projects, and everyone's got different schedules, these director presentations, they're not all due at the same time. Usually these are given a couple a day. We'll come to class and a student gives us a presentation, and then we all go back to work. Then we come back tomorrow and a student gives us a new student gives us a presentation, and then we go back to work. Okay, so we don't get overloaded with them. We just do a little bit at a time. So these are all due between now and the end of the year. okay? But they're not all due at the same time, okay? So after you pick your director, you will then sign up for when your presentation is due. And if you got last pick of director, you get first pick of when to sign up for when your presentation is due. If you want to get this done in like the next couple of weeks, you can. Like that's an option. Or if you want to put this off until like way the end of the year and you don't want to even think about it because you're busy working on other stuff, that's also an option. But you can only, there are only limited slots available. So if you picked first, you're going to be left with whatever's left over at the end. So that's how I make it. That's how I make it even. Okay. Are you ready?